G'day, welcome to this video on Occamise. In this video, I'm going to build a student absence line, whether it be over SMS or phone, for a school to use to record the absence of their students and, do lots of reporting and all the other things that they might be able to do off the back of that. Now, since I don't have access to a school system, but I want to create as realistic a demonstration of a solution as possible, I've just created in Airtable a database that represents what I expect a school system would include. Certainly a students table, a parents table, classes, teachers, that sort of thing. So just enough information for us to sort of simulate this process. And and then so from the Occamise point of view, the way that it will interact with this Airtable, I would expect would be very, very similar to what would go on if we were working directly with a school system. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I'm not going to go into too much detail really on any of the stuff that I'm doing. I just want to really illustrate how quick and easy it is to build a solution. However, having said that, to save some time, I've already done all the research I need on, API endpoints and parameters and things like that for Airtable. I keep going to call it Air Server. If I do that by mistake, I apologize. So Airtable. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and build it. I'm really not going to explain too much about how to use our software. But what I want you to sort of see in this process is how simple it is, and most importantly, how you don't have any other tools that you need to use, except for Airtable in this case. But from within Occamise, we don't need anything additional to receive phone calls, make phone calls, SMSs, have these conversations, and so on. So we support 11 Labs, Amazon Poly. We've got a whole bunch of tools that we use. That it's all in our system. There's no need for separate sort of no-code SaaS tools like Make.com and Zapier and VoiceFlow and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I mean, hopefully that's if you take one thing from this video on the power of Occamise, hopefully it's that, and hopefully you like our abilities because I think they're pretty cool. All right. So let's build this up. I'll start by building an agent. And the agent is obviously the thing that's going to be handling the conversations and doing the work. So we'll call it the absence line. It's going to interact with customers. We're going to make it nice and concise and direct. Give it a picture. So now we have an agent. It's automatically been given a channel. It's just a web chat channel. And that means that we can literally click this button and we can be talking to that agent right now. But the agent really doesn't know what it's doing at this stage, and it doesn't have any abilities, so we need to fix that up. Save time, I've written down an idea for the agent instructions, the initial agent instructions. So I'll just paste that in there. All this other stuff is fine for now, so I'm going to hit save. So we need to give this agent some abilities. So what I want to happen, and this is how the solution will work. Parent will start the conversation. They might even say in that first message what it is that they're wanting to do. Hey, Johnny's off sick for the next 2 days. As that happens, I want the agent to fetch the details of that parent so that it knows who they're speaking to and who their students are or who their kids are. Then I want the agent to fetch the student details. So now it's got both the parent and the student details. And that's the information that it'll need in its context for it to be able to do the third ability. And the third ability is to actually log the absence. Okay. So again, we're going to retrieve the parent off the phone number. Then we're going to get their students based off the parents' student IDs. And then lastly, obviously what we're trying to achieve here is to log the student absence into this absences table. All right, so let's go and build the first ability. So I'm just going to jump out of this agent configuration and come over to abilities. And add an ability called get parent details. I'm going to make that run after the parent says one thing. what is it going to do when it executes. It's not a Google task. It's a custom HTTP request. I forgot to mention the only thing in this entire configuration is a connection. So in the connections over here, I do have my Airtable connection already configured. And all I did was create a connection in Occamise of type custom HTTP requests. And I put in my personal access token. And over on AirServer, I've just configured the permissions for that personal access token on my Airtable database, or as they call it, a base. So when I come in here and I create this ability and I choose the custom HTTP requests service, I then have one of these functions I can do, which I'm going to do a GET request. And I can specify the endpoint, which is going to be something like this. It's not going to be the students table, it's going to be the parents table. And we're going to use the Airtable connection. Okay, so let's add a parameter. So I know from my research that the parameter that a query is going to need is a filter by formula. In this case, I'm going to use a static value for that parameter's value, and I'm going to hard code it as phone equals my number. So for now, I'm hard coding it because I haven't configured the phone numbers and stuff. So when we do an initial test of this, I'm always going to be this parent with this phone number, but that's fine. So that's the initial ability. That's pretty simple. That's going to always fetch my parent details based on my phone number whenever the conversation begins. So once we have that, we know that we're going to be getting back this table, and we're going to be getting back all of these fields here, including the student IDs. So we can now search on these student IDs. So let's create another ability called Get Student Details. Get Student Details, or Get Parent Students. Let's call it Get Parent, Get Students of Parent. Whatever. The name's not too important. The most important thing really in an ability, if it's going to be one that's decided, that the execution of which is decided by the agent, which is going to be our case here. So I'm going to say when this ability should run at any point in the conversation when this human instruction is true. So the human instruction can literally be anything you want. But it's really just describing to the agent when it should be running the ability. So I'm going to try and make this as prescriptive as possible in terms of I want it to run every time we fetch the parent detail. So I'm literally going to try and do that. I actually haven't tried this, so we'll do it together. So describe when the agent should run this ability. I'm going to say as soon as parent details have been fetched and the parent has at least one student. That'll do for now, right? So we can just sort of describe it. This is the thing that's so cool. So we're going to describe that as the point in which we want to run it. We're not going to require confirmation. Hit save, and we're going to do a custom HTTP requests. We're going to do a get. The endpoint is this one. And it's actually students this time. We're going to use the Airtable connection. And again, we want filter by formula. But this time, I'm going to leave it as AI generated. And I can put a description here that describes what it should put in the value of filter by formula. But I'm going to save that. I'm going to put that description up the top. So let me just grab what I've prepared earlier. So in this box under agent instructions is where you can sort of give it some information that it's going to need about when it comes to executing this ability. So like this is more like, these are like the preconditions and the sort of information. And then this stuff down here is is the actual execution. So by putting this information in here, you can see that the agent now understands what it should do with this filter by formula. So the filter by formula value should look like this. And that's pretty easily and well explained there. So it should quite accurately and consistently get that right. So really don't need to put anything else down here. We can just have this same generate a value for it, and it'll be able to figure it out from this. So I'm going to save changes on both of those. Get students a parent. So what else do we need to do? We need to log the absence. So let's create another ability. Let's call it log student absence. Or do we want to sort of not imply that it's a single, because we're going to certainly allow it to do multiple. Anyway, log absence. Log student absence. It's fine for now. So when the agent has captured and confirmed all the details for the student absence. All right, so something like that. So it sort of implies that, it has to have captured everything it needs. We're ready to do it. We've had confirmation from the parent, etc. I'm going to untick the requires confirmation. That's sort of just another layer, though, that'll make sure that, it's always going to confirm everything before it actually executes. But I'm going to leave that off for now. So hit save changes on that. Now, in the agent instructions for actually, let me show you the step to insert first. So let me just quickly add that. So it's a post this time instead of a get, obviously. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but it is. And the endpoint's very similar. But it's going to be absences, I think it was called. Yep. So absences. And so these are the fields. Not all of these are actually in this table, though. So in terms of actually writing a new record, we can't add these things because these are linked tables. But what we can add is the start date, the end date, the parent ID, the student ID, the absence type, and the absence notes. And then this stuff is, I've got a little automation in Airtable to populate the student link. So I'll show you that happening. So so the structure for the API to add a record with these fields in it looks like this. Let me grab I'm going to grab my other little information from this as well. Okay, so here's sort of like in that previous example. This is just this is information to help the agent when executing the ability. So here we're saying that this is the following object represents a single absence. I'm going to say a single student absence record. Okay, so it's this, and it understands that that's an object that it can wrap its head around. So that's for one single student absence. And we'll let it know that it can certainly do more than one. So the parameter here is supposed to be records. We're going to say AI generated, and then in the description, again, I'm just going to copy what I've prepared earlier. So an array of records, or record, right? So it has to be an array to add representing each individual student absence that needs to be recorded. So that's a fairly explicit sort of instruction. It has this information to tell it what a student absence sort of record looks like. And then we say it needs to be an array, so it should know that basically it's going to be sort of encapsulated with square brackets. So ultimately, if it was one record we were adding, it would sort of do something like this. Okay. All right. Hopefully that's clear. So let's save and save. So we're done. So we have our three. We have our three abilities. The get parent details is done automatically, and the other two are done by the agent when the agent sees fit, right? And that's where testing and testing and some tuning may come into play, but in a lot of cases, it just works. It just works first time. All right, so let's go to the agent and let's give it these abilities and save. And I think we're good. On the channel, we can add some context about the person as well. So the user is a parent of a student at the school who would like to lodge a student absence or something like that. That gives it a bit more info. Might just rename it. You wouldn't do this via a web chat. Well, yeah, I mean, you could give every parent their own web chat URL, I suppose, and that would be one way to identify them. But in this case, like we said, we're going to be looking up the phone number. I'll show you. Later on, you'll see how that's going to look. At the moment, as you have seen, we are hard coded on this, but later on, we'll be able to replace the phone number here with just one of our sort of reserved attributes. Call a number, just like that. And so when someone phones in or SMSs, we can just capture their phone number and replace that value. Okay, but I'm not going to do that now. All right, so no conversations. Let us start a conversation now and test it and see if it works. And what I'll do is I'll put the Airtable over here and the chat over here. Forget these conversation starters. That's just configuration on the agent that I haven't changed yet. Obviously, these are not appropriate for the absence line, but as we've already covered, we're not going to be doing it over a web chat anyway. This is just for testing. All right, so I'm going to leave the absence table open so we can see if we get a record in there in a minute. And let's just pretend that we're going to log a student absence and see what happens. Hi there. Hi there. William is going to be off sick for the next couple of days. Now, I could have just said hi. I could have done whatever. I'm putting some of my requirement as a parent into that first message. And so remember, like, just from the back of me sending that first message, we know that the agent is going to run the get parent details function. And then if you remember my description of the get students of parent ability, it sort of explicitly said, whenever you've retrieved parent details and they have at least one student, go ahead and run this ability. And so that's exactly what it did. So far, working perfectly. Now, the fact that it says, I have retrieved the details for your students, we can tune that out so easily just by adding an instruction into our prompt. But for now, this is fine. Just for testing, this is fine. To log William's absence, I need the following information. Now, it sort of knows this information. I sort of already told it that, so we can work that out of it as well. The type of absence, sure. Look, I haven't actually given it any idea about what those values should be or what the options are even. So we're going to have to sort of it'll just guess. It'll just do its best, and then the notes. So let's just answer those questions. From today, let's just say today and tomorrow will be fine for now. He is sick with a sore tummy. And now you can see it's running the log student absence, and it successfully ran it. And it says William's absence has been successfully logged for today and tomorrow. And so over here on the right on Airtable, you saw that record get added. We've got start date, today's date, through till tomorrow's date, logged by parent ID 1 for student ID 1. And as I said, I've got a little automation that's grabbing the student ID value that we inserted and linking it to the student table, and therefore I can now grab the student details. I could add all the other student details into this view as well. And I can do exactly the same automation on the parent ID. So I would have a link to the parents from this absences table as well, but I haven't bothered to do that for now. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video. And then in the next video, I suppose what we'll do is we'll add a phone number, we'll add a mobile number so that we can SMS it and also phone it to do the same request. And then we'll tune the agent to work better in over that channel. So we don't want things like well, in fact, it's already going to do that natively. By the way, in our system, we'll automatically adjust the way we communicate based on the channel. And at the moment, it's a web chat. And so it's the agent's quite happy to do a list like you just saw, a numbered list like you just saw, but over the phone, because it knows it's over the phone, it won't do that. And you'll see that in the next video. So yeah, please come and check out the next video where we'll sort of tie this whole solution together and actually get a live phone call.